It was a cloudy morning when Sophia Reynolds walked into the courthouse, her designer heels echoing against the marble floors. Her hair was perfectly styled, her makeup flawless, but beneath her calm exterior, her heart pounded with rage. She had waited for this day for months. Today she would finally make that man, Marcus Carter, pay for abandoning her and their son. Marcus was seated at the defendant's table, dressed in a simple suit, his face tense yet composed. His dark skin contrasted sharply with the paleness of the room, and his eyes flickered with worry as they darted between the judge, the prosecutor, and Sophia. He had been expecting this day, though he didn't feel it was fair. As the judge, a stern-faced man with silver hair and an air of authority took his seat, the courtroom fell silent. Sophia's attorney began the case with confidence, laying out the facts. Sophia had a 7-year-old son named Ethan, and Marcus was the father. He had failed to provide for the child and had made no effort to help raise him. They demanded full child support and back payments for all the years he hadn't been around. "Your Honor," the attorney said, his voice booming in the courtroom, "Marcus Carter has not once taken responsibility for his actions. He has left Ms. Reynolds to raise a child alone, without any financial support. It's time he faces the consequences of his neglect." Sophia sat, nodding in agreement, her eyes occasionally darting towards Marcus with disdain. She had been a single mother all these years, working 2 jobs to provide for Ethan. She had been hurt, betrayed, and left with nothing. She wanted justice. Marcus's attorney stood, clearing her throat before addressing the court. "Your Honor, Mr. Carter acknowledges that he and Ms. Reynolds had a relationship years ago, but he has serious doubts about whether he is the biological father of the child in question. Before any child support is ordered, we would like to request a DNA test to determine paternity." Sophia's face turned red with anger. "How dare he deny it?" she muttered under her breath. She had been sure this would be a quick case, a simple decision in her favor. After all, wasn't it obvious? Ethan looked just like Marcus, or at least that's what everyone had always told her. The judge, his voice calm but firm, nodded in agreement. "A DNA test seems reasonable in this case. We'll adjourn until the results come in." A week later, the day the DNA results came back, the courtroom was packed. Word had spread about the case, and it seemed like everyone wanted to know the outcome. Sophia sat confidently in her seat, ready to celebrate her victory. Marcus, however, looked more anxious than ever. The judge entered, the room quieting immediately. He held the sealed envelope containing the DNA test results. The tension in the air was palpable. "I have here the results of the paternity test," the judge said, his voice echoing in the silent room. He tore open the envelope and began to read, his eyes scanning the paper, his brow furrowed. "According to the test, Marcus Carter is not the biological father of Ethan Reynolds." A collective gasp rippled through the courtroom. Sophia froze, her mind reeling. How could that be possible? She was sure, she had always been sure, Marcus was the father. She felt the stares of the people around her and could almost hear their silent judgment. Marcus's attorney stood, her expression one of quiet triumph. "Your Honor, given these results, we respectfully request that all charges against my client be dropped." The judge nodded. "The court agrees. Marcus Carter is not responsible for any child support, and this case is dismissed." Sophia's attorney looked stunned. He hadn't prepared for this. Sophia, on the other hand, felt a wave of panic wash over her. What would happen now? Her world had just crumbled before her eyes, and she had no idea how to fix it. Before the judge could adjourn, Marcus suddenly stood, his voice calm but filled with emotion. "Your Honor, may I say something?" The judge paused, nodding. "Go ahead." Marcus turned to face Sophia, and for the first time the courtroom saw the pain in his eyes. "I may not be Ethan's biological father, but I was there for the first few years of his life. I loved him, and I loved Sophia. When we broke up, I didn't abandon them. I left because she pushed me away, not because I didn't care." Sophia's heart clenched. She had forgotten how much he had been involved when Ethan was a baby, how Marcus had changed diapers, played with him, and even stayed up through the nights when their son cried. She had pushed him away, yes, but not because of anything Marcus had done. It was her own insecurities, her fear of being hurt. "I was willing to help, Marcus continued. But she never asked me. She made me feel like I wasn't welcome anymore. I wasn't even sure if Ethan was mine, but I still would have been there for him. I don't need a court order to be a good man. Tears welled up in Sophia's eyes as memories of their time together flooded back. She had been so blinded by her own anger and bitterness that she had painted Marcus as the villain, convincing herself he was to blame for everything. The judge leaned forward, intrigued by the turn of events. "Mr. Carter, are you saying you'd still like to be involved in the child's life, even though you're not the biological father?" Marcus nodded. "Yes, Your Honor. I still care about Ethan. I know I'm not his real father, but that doesn't mean I don't love him like one. If he ever needs anything, I'll be there." Sophia broke down, sobbing into her hands. She had been so wrong about Marcus, so consumed by her own pain that she had never considered his side of the story. The judge sat back, a thoughtful look on his face. "Ms. Reynolds," he said gently, "I suggest you think long and hard about what kind of father figure you want in your son's life. Mr. Carter is offering something most people wouldn't in this situation." Sophia wiped her tears, her heart heavy with guilt and shame. She had taken Marcus to court hoping for revenge, but instead, she had discovered the truth. Marcus wasn't the problem. She was. As the courtroom emptied, Marcus approached Sophia. She looked up at him, her voice trembling. "I'm sorry, Marcus. I didn't know how to handle everything." Marcus nodded, his expression softening. "It's okay. I understand. Just don't shut me out this time. Let me be there for him, for both of you." Sophia nodded, her heart breaking and healing all at once. She had come to court seeking justice, but what she found instead was something much more profound: understanding, forgiveness, and perhaps even the chance to rebuild a bridge she had burned long ago. As they walked out of the courthouse together, the future suddenly seemed brighter than it had in years. Sophia and Marcus walked out of the courthouse, the tension that had filled the air for months finally beginning to ease. For the first time in years, they spoke not as enemies, but as two people who had shared a meaningful connection. The possibility of rebuilding some of that trust hung in the air like a fragile promise. As they reached the steps outside, Sophia glanced at Marcus. "I don't want to shut you out anymore. Ethan deserves to have you in his life. I see that now." Marcus gave a small, genuine smile. "Thank you, Sophia. I'll be there for him, always." With a nod, Sophia turned to look out at the bustling city, feeling lighter than she had in a long time. Things were not perfect, but they were finally on the path toward healing. Thank you for watching. What do you think about the surprising twist in today's story? If you want to hear more gripping and emotional stories like this, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Stay tuned for more powerful stories that make you think, feel, and reflect. See you in the next video.